Hey, what's going on, everybody? We got Drew over here. I'm right here. Thanks for tuning in. Hope everyone's doing great.
No one listens
How
to
you doing,
this, Nick.
Drew?
It's just you and I.
Oh, well, that's good. Then we can say whatever we want.
I know, right? We can get away with anything on this. We can talk about evil things, and no one will classify us as sinners.
Well, I don't plan on doing that, but
Oh, I do.
okay. Hey, you're your own man. You do you.
So what's up, man? How are things? Actually, we should probably be like, yo, we've been trying to do this podcast, but the quality's been terrible for the past week and a half during the daytime hours of business because I think everyone's using this. So anyway, we had to wait until after hours of business to get something done like this. So now it's working. It's working well so far. So
Yeah, we tried 3 times. Twice was because of the um like daytime. I guess so many people were on Zoom that the audio quality was terrible. And then one other time, we're not going to go into that, but it was it was something else happened. So
rough, rough, dude.
rough. But
Makes
hey,
me
we're
want to
here.
throw up.
We're ready. This is episode 4 of 7, and we may do more
Quattro.
later on, but this is just this is a 7-part series.
We'll round them up later, Bubba.
Yeah. I'm enjoying this, man. What about you?
Yeah, man. I'm enjoying as well. I'm enjoying as well.
I've
It's
got 3 different drinks here. I've got coffee, I've got LaCroix, and I've got my water.
you got your water, huh? I've got some Aldi wine here.
Oh, that's
Box
always very
wine.
quality. German wine is very good.
Box wine for 15.99. Is Aldi
Not
German?
bad. Oh yeah.
Huh. That's kind of cool. I
What
thought it
what
was
what brand of box wine is that, if I may ask? Because Aldi's normally white label.
I don't know. I don't know which one it is.
Exactly. Yeah, they normally create their uh own brand, so they can cut out the white label is like not like Dial soap or LaCroix drink. It would be like the Vive, and then it would be
Huh.
like Aldi brand, but it's the same thing.
Le
Um,
Vive.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
muy bueno.
La Vase. Okay. All right.
And
So I
hold
think
on.
we're just gonna kind of
I have
okay,
more.
okay, yeah. Hit it, man.
I've got
Sorry to
this.
cut you off like that.
Copenhagen. We're looking for sponsors. Listen, you guys would be a great fit.
at 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 Copenhagen, at Drew Thomas, at LaCroix, at Nick Elcott right now.
LaCroix, you'd be a great fit too, man.
Yeah, we'd appreciate the sponsorships. You can check out all our views on YouTube, and I think that
So
we would
many.
really we'd add a lot to your brand. So, um, so Drew, I you moved to Athens recently. How's that going?
Yes. Yeah. So, um, it's going great, man. The people I'm living with are very considerate, uh, um, fun and happy first, and kind first. And I know them through family friends. Through this thing called Avalon. You good over there, Nick? On your screen?
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to fix this up. Sorry,
Okay,
man.
I'll just keep talking.
Yeah, keep
Um,
going.
so I just moved in a week ago today, and the the I've kind of set up my room a little bit. It's still a little bit off, but the transitioning from living with my parents in Birmingham, Alabama, to being on my own and doing my own things. It's been such a relaxing sort of like drop your shoulders back a little bit and sort of take a deep breath. It's been so nice because I'm not having to deal with people say, hey, why are you, like even subliminally, just looking at their face, like, hey, why aren't you doing whatever they think you should be doing? And so it's great to be away from at least the feeling of that's what's happening in the Birmingham house to now where I'm able to do whatever I want, and be able to sustain myself, which is, it's just so nice. Um, yeah, and dude, I've got some beautiful artwork in here that my mom's made, and I was expecting that when she made these that I would inherit these when she died, because I told her that I love them so much. I was just like, these paintings are amazing, and but I said, hey, when I move out of here, can I have those paintings? And she said, yes, of course. And I was like, oh my God, you warm my heart. You literally just warm
Dude,
my
let's
heart.
see them.
And
Let's see them.
all right, so I can take one off the wall. Um, Give me one sec.
For everyone listening, I guess we're only doing YouTube, but I hope you're watching the video as well. It's beautiful, man.
This is one of them.
She is so talented.
Very nice. I love it. It's one of my favorites.
She just gave that to you?
Let me grab
Awesome,
this
dude.
real quick. This is might be my favorite of all of them. This might be the best of all of them.
Wow, man. Turn that sideways for me. I just want to see it sideways. That's so cool, dude. She's got such talent.
Yeah, beauty, absolute beauty. But I don't even have it hanging up yet, so I'll just lay it there.
Dude,
But I've got some other paintings that remind me of travel and remind me of like Paris and remind me of like Mississippi and uh, places like that just remind me of home, but then also the artwork that my genes are capable of. To some extent, that gives me a nice feeling that I've inherited some level of artistry. Um, and then and then yeah, these paintings of that I got from my grandmother's house, who was moving into an old person's home, but she needed to get rid of some paintings. So um, there's this famous painter in Columbus, Mississippi. Anyway, she got these paintings for a good deal, and then I was like, "Hey, I like those a lot. Can I have them?" She said, "Yeah, absolutely, take them." And so I've got like my favorite artwork ever in uh in my room right now. So it's it's very zenful. It feels good to meditate with all the good vibes around me.
yeah, I bet actually creating music surrounded by such great artwork is really conducive to the stuff you write.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting. My mom was doing a painting at her studio. She has a studio at the lake house. It's like sort of a barn, but so I was in her studio one day, and she was painting, and I thought, like, how could I translate this painting into vibrations or into music or whatever. And I just came up with something that I had never come up with before, and it was a really cool sort of translation from visual to you're listening to it, and it was pretty cool, man. Yeah, a level of like visual artisanship transferred to um yeah, listening and listening artisanship, and it was cool. Um but yeah, man, you know, it's it's a good vibe. It's a really good vibe. It's been really easy to get along with everybody. It's been easy to do my own thing. Everything's been going well. So um yeah, chugging along, man. Doing okay over there?
Yeah, yeah, I keep getting pop-ups on this iPad here. My bad. Having the X out of them. Yeah,
Yes.
that's awesome, man.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I feel like what's been hard for me is getting to know the people. Um, as best as I can and as quick as I can so that I can start making like super awesome memories with them. And I'm a little bit anxious because of that. I feel like I felt like I was trying too hard, and then I stopped trying, and then it kind of like flowed really easy. It was like super easy. Um, uh, but yeah, that's been like the only hardship, just trying to like make them happy that I'm around, you know. And it's like you just don't have to try. It's
Yeah, I
easy.
feel like everyone's gonna like you, man. It's just a matter of time. People have to get to know you. So
Yeah. Yeah. And the
yeah,
same goes both ways. Like I got to know other people. I got to know their jokes. I got to know their mannerisms and stuff like that. And yeah.
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 I think if you kind of flip the switch a little bit and you qualify them a little bit as well, because the people you surround yourself with kind of developed you into the person that you are. So while it's great to surround yourself with everyone that you meet, when it's for me when I moved to Colorado, I wanted to surround myself with everyone I met because I'm a social being and I like to be able to interact with people. But then I started realizing that this person wasn't great and conducive to me growing as an individual. So while they may be 100% like down to hang out all the time, I don't need to be hanging out with them because they're not going to help me grow as a person. So kind
Sure.
of when you flip the table and you qualify the people that you're trying to be qualified by, um, at least that took some stress off me, knowing that I don't have to be friends with everyone, and it's okay to be a little introspective for 6, 7 months living in a new place. But it's
Mhm.
important to be actively not like watching Netflix when you could be out making new connections on a Friday night at a open mic for you or a meetup for me. Uh, so I think that's really important, and the only way that you can actually get to qualify some people because it's a rare breed that you
Can I
find.
ask you something real quick?
Sure,
When you moved to Fort Collins, did you just dive in? You just dove in everywhere you could? Like,
I absolutely was on the high dive, and I said no Netflix, no like interest. I mean, like I allowed myself like
like, did you dive in terms of trying to find people, like doing things that you did? Okay.
right, yeah, I'm
Okay.
getting there. So a lot of things that when people get nervous, they go to their kind of their ticks, which for me is streaming services. That's why I keep talking on that. So uh,
So your vice is streaming services.
yeah, it can
Hmm.
be, and it
What kind?
depends on the time, and so it's important to know what makes you kind of that you're like your tick, and know that when you move to a new area, you've got to not kind of socially isolate yourself with that tick, and you've got to actually put yourself out there. One thing that I did was it's called the comfort zone challenge, and it was 4 times in that week. I had to go out of my comfort zone, and whether it be meet a new person or talk to someone or ask somebody to hang out or go to a new group, or just 4 times in that week, I would I had a little thing on my planner, had like 4 boxes, and make sure I checked them off that week, and that way I made sure I wasn't going into the negative or being stagnant in making new relationships, because we're social creatures and it's so important for us to make those connections. But it's easy for us to get complacent in the connections that are immediately surrounding us and not go out and seek um, connections that'll bring you to the next level.
Super easy. It's so easy to just be comfortable. And it's so
It's like,
easy to just hang out with the people that you have to hang out with, or that you feel like you have to hang out with them because you've been friends for so long. And it's like, um, you know,
even harder to stop hanging out with the people you've known for so long.
but man, what's interesting too is that I thought this was super interesting, and I'm not quite sure why. Keep on that idea that you had. I want to branch just a bit. Um, I asked my brother. It was my brother. I said, are you like highly interested? Are you interested in, like how to like train your brain or anything like that? Like how to, how to make sure that you're optimized, your mind is optimized, your body's optimized in every way that's going to, allow you to perform on any level that you're performing at, like the best way. And he said, no, not really. I mean, and I was like, well, don't you think you can always be better? And he was like, yeah, for sure. But, I feel like my mind's fine and my body's fine. Like I'm not really trying to, and it just kind of was weird to me, that like the actual wiring of people like you and I might be actually fundamentally different than some other people, which is fine. And uh, he's had friends from middle school, from elementary school. He's played baseball with his whole life. So he's going to live with his best friend in Vestavia, Birmingham, and he's okay with that. He's completely cool with that, and he's got friends in Birmingham. It's just kind of like it's not. I wouldn't call it like the easy button, because that's just judgment and wrapped up in terms of a cliche expression, but um, it is interesting how the more you practice at going out and meeting people and doing things that you're uncomfortable with, the better you become at being uncomfortable doing things you're uncomfortable with. And like for me, travel did that really well. Traveling on my own, I had to meet so many people, and breakfast, it was all day every day. There was not much alone time at all. um when I was in the car, there was a lot of alone time, but not when I wasn't in the car. There wasn't a lot of alone time when I was traveling in Europe and Eastern Europe. But the practice of becoming uncomfortable, meeting people, and being uncomfortable in that way is a um, interesting endeavor, and almost an investment. Um, and
Before you
uh,
go too far off the topic of your brother,
I'm about
I'd
to
like to.
I'm about to reel it back in. I'm about to reel it back in completely. So, um, like being around the people that you've invested your time in to be uncomfortable, doing things you're uncomfortable doing, that'll rebound like 5 or 20 or 30 or 50 times, because like you'll get that investment back 50 times what you invested, because you've gotten comfortable doing those uncomfortable things and being with people that you've allowed yourself to be comfortable around when they were uncomfortable. And then when when they were feeling weird and you were their base, they came back to you, and then you became friends, and then your relationships grew and grew and grew and grew. And then you've now got this lasting friendship. And uh and man, it's super cool. It's super cool that like you can go out and find new friends, find people that are interested in doing what you want to do. And I think it's super important that people are not scared to go out and just meet people that are doing things that they do. Period. Whether you're
I actually,
comfortable or uncomfortable. For me, I'm an introvert, so I'm a bit uncomfortable. But
I actually was just on this same topic you're talking about. Um, and Seth Godin wrote a book called "This Is Marketing," and he explained to me in the book that there are three different types of people. There are people that want to move forward, there are people that want to stay the same, and there are people that actually want to kind of go back a little bit. So it's interesting to think you. When I was before I read the book, I thought everyone wants to get better. Everyone wants more customers. Everyone wants more friends. And Seth was pretty much saying like that's not true. Like some people have too many friends and they want to regress to having just a core group of friends. And some people just have a core group of friends and they don't want any more. And some people actually want to bump the ladder and to get better and to push the groups and to qualify better friends and disqualify other friends. And the
yeah,
same could be said for customers in that point. But it kind of had a little gear shift because um, it's weird to think that people wouldn't want to get more in life. And
hmm,
people just, there are a lot of people that are okay with staying the same and being comfortable. And that's all right. that's okay. If that's the way you want to live your life, great. Like, that's no problem. And that's still going to be a great life. But it's just like these three different categories of people. So I thought that was interesting. Now continue on what you were saying.
Well, no, that just reels it kind of all back in. So, like, on what you said, um, I I think that having less friends, uh, the less friends you have, the less time you spend with the friends you could have had. So you spend way more time with the small amount of friends that you do have currently, and you're building extremely strong, lasting relationship with those friends. And we've talked about this whole the five people you spend most time with, that you're going to be most like those people. This is talked about all throughout self development, uh, anywhere from Tim Ferriss and to Ryan Holiday and
Jim
Bill
Jim
and stuff
Rohn
like that.
actually coined that.
And
You're the yeah.
so I think it's like it does. It's true. I mean, you got to think about who you talk on the phone, who do you talk with on the phone, who do you, and I honestly think that if you don't have any friends, like I think when I was working at CGI, I had a smaller amount of friends, and the people I was hanging out with, it wasn't like people that I wanted to grow with, people that didn't want to grow, and I mean, you and we've always been really good friends. Um, but I think I I spent a lot of time listening to podcasts, man. I listen to podcasts, and I got to know people in terms of in terms of the way I was listening to them. So like people like Brian Callen and Joe Rogan and Tom Bilyeu and Tim Ferriss became my friends. And in my mind at least, that like my mind was tricked into believing that they were my friends, and so we I mean, I basically, use these ideologies of how to practice exercise and eating right and meditation, all these things, and then just applied it to my life. That was because that's what they were telling me, like that's what they were talking about, and they were doing all those things, so I became more like them. So I don't think it's just, we've debated about this before, that like the actual beings you spend time with are, I think they probably are more important, but I think like the people you spend the most time listening to are the ones you're going to be most like. But
It
I just think like, yeah.
it kind of I think it's like a mixture of both. I think it's I think if we are going to go equation wise on this, it would be like, let's say X is the people you physically spend time with, and Y are like the people that you listen to on podcasts or the movies you take in or the Netflix shows that you watch. It would be maybe like uh, 0.7X. So X being the people that you actually interact with, and then it'd be like zero point 0.3 plus zero point 0.3Y, which would be like the inputs that you receive from digital means, equals the sum of um, almost who you are at the time. Maybe not 100% who you are, but kind of who you're almost emulating at the time, because it's almost impossible to actually like become that sum of the crowd, but you do start to emulate qualities of the crowd and the inputs that you take in. That makes sense.
Kinda. It kind of made sense.
So let me break it down a little easier. Your direct, and this is a total hypothesis. Your direct influences have a higher proportion of influence on you than your indirect. Indirect being podcast, digital. Direct being your friends that you hang out with on weekends, or the people that you call on the phone. And that equaling the Jim Rohn quote of "You are the sum of the five people that you hang out with the most."
I think if we could just dumb this down to an easier idea, I think like to make it simpler, the more time you spend thinking about things that you've heard on a podcast or things you've heard about your friends talking about, or things of that nature, I think that's what you're going to become more like. I've had dreams about hanging out with all these podcasters, man. It's crazy. Like, I have dreams about hanging out with them, drinking with them, and just asking them advice, asking them questions, And like, I'm not really having dreams about all my friends all the time. And I don't know if that's saying that I think about podcasters more, but I mean, uh, I don't even care about debating the subject at all, but I do think it is extremely important to know where you spend your time, where you spend your energy, uh, in terms of listening, in terms of taking things in, your media diet. I think that's where your mind's going to be most of the time. And it's just, I think it's super simple to just to think that the more things, the where you spend your energy, where your thoughts, um, the more thoughts you have about a specific thing, the more you become that thing.
I think that the media diet, that kind of terminology you just used, is a really interesting thing.
I agree, man.
And I think if I think diet is kind of a negative word. So if we were to call it the media feast, I think it'd be, I don't know,
Hmm.
maybe that's not the right word either.
Yeah,
But
it's not
I'm a
Thanksgiving.
big proponent on, like, because words kind of trigger negative or positive emotions. But that's to the side. But let's stick with media diet just because you said it.
Let's talk about
Um,
it.
I think a lot of people don't think about monitoring the inputs they put into their life.
Yeah,
What do you think?
yeah. I mean, 100%. I mean, you see it every day. I mean, people driving through McDonald's fast food. It's just, if you
What
had the information, then you know.
what
So
about
they're not
media though?
right, but I'm
Like,
saying it's like if you had the information of media saying that, like, hey, if you eat salad and you eat meat, it makes you feel better, and then you do better. And I guess I was translating that to terms of media diet, in terms of being like, what good things are you watching on social media or media or
or like
anything like that?
listening to a podcast that
Hmm.
has a dietitian on there, and you
Right.
finally learning that eating too much sugar can make you crash,
Yeah.
and sugar is actually found in like burgers and McDonald's, and it's
Hmm.
just hidden.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like, a
Yeah.
lot of people just don't know that, and there's good
and
sugars and bad
and
sugars. And
there's a let's I'm gonna hit another better analogy. um it's like when people, like in times of the coronavirus, people that are um you know terrified of the coronavirus are watching news all day, and they're seeing these breaking news, these red alerts all the time on the screen, and these people talking loud and talking at you and talking about the protests and everything going on screen with George Floyd and blah 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 blah. And you have people talking at you like this, and you feel this state of like unrest, really, like unrest, anxiety driven unrest, and it's terrifying. And the more you take in of that, the more you feel that feeling of anxiety and unrest. Therefore, you're probably going to be anxious and restless. Simple as that. It's a way better analogy. And it's that feeling that you feel more often. Like, that's what you're going to feel. And it's the same way with every feeling. The more feeling you have in terms of positive feelings, the more positive feelings you're going to have overall, in terms of not just a cycle of a day. The cycle of a
yeah,
day could be, you wake up hungover. It's like, oh, this day is going to be crappy or something. But you then, anyway, you could go off. We could go off the tracks on that one. We've
yeah,
done
and
that one many times, huh?
it's important to be informed about what's going on in the world. But when the market share of your inputs become those red alerts and these anxiety driven flashes of panic,
Yeah.
then that's when you start coming into the state of anxiety more often,
Yeah.
because just like with the inputs of the people you surround yourself with, the indirect inputs of this media that you're consuming can actually push you into an anxiety driven state or a fearful state, and
Hmm.
that's no fun to live in.
God, it's terrible, man. It's terrible, man. Like, I had
It can
somebody
be
the other day.
addicting too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything that's sparking the same feeling that you're getting is addicting.
Your
Like,
body craves it. It's
dude,
like,
think about
ooh,
this. Think about
strong
this.
emotion.
Think about this. Any feeling that you feel comfortable having, any feeling that you have a lot already currently is addicting. So you want to feel it in the future. What do you think about that? Theory. That's a theory.
Let's hit that in a different way. Say it in a different way for me.
Okay. The feeling of having a task list and completing every task you had that day on that task list and marking it off, marking each one off,
Oh yeah.
crossing it out feels great. And you become addicted to that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And taking, you know, drinking, drinking like 5 glasses of wine a night and then feeling buzzed like that all the time is very addicting. And like, I mean, creating music and thinking like, um like writing a song and then crafting it over a course of like a year and then finally like publishing it, that feeling is incredible. uh and then you go to like the like exercise, and like you exercise, you work out, you feel way better after. And then with food too, it's like the food's not that great, but then right after you feel great too. um but the more burgers you eat, like if you go to McDonald's and you eat like hamburgers from McDonald's all the time, you have this feeling of like it feels really good in your stomach, like while it's being digested, and then once it's going through your system, it feels terrible because it's not food, it's not nutritious, it's it's toxin basically. And
We may
but
lose our McDonald's sponsorship after this podcast.
we'll gain the Athletic Green sponsorship though.
Okay.
um and it's like you become addicted to that feeling of, you ever heard of the default mode state, like network? uh what default mode, it's a default, anyway, it's like your default state when you are thinking a lot or whatever, you become defaulted and then you fall into this state. I'm pretty sure it's the default mode network. And it's like what you default to emotionally. Um, anyway, doesn't matter. That's something we're not qualified to talk about apparently. Um, but so um, sorry that this dog's in here. Actually, might be the cat. There's a cat and a dog here too. It's great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Um, anyway, that's maybe that's a theory we can't completely close out at this time. But it is interesting to think about, like the more feelings you have in that state, the more addicted you are to those feelings in some weird way. Even if it's like, even if your mom is extremely abusive verbally, and when you're around an environment where there's not a verbally abusive mom, you want to be around a verbally abusive mom because then you fall back into that default mode state, and you're comfortable there. Your brain's comfortable there.
That's deep. Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's a weird one.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. I'm gonna close my door.
Hmm. Well, I hope everyone's doing pretty good. They're enjoying. This is a take a little 1 minute intermission, and we're back.
Sorry about that.
The live headset. Close the door. Playing with cats in the middle of the podcast. That's cool. I play with cats. If I had a cat here, I'd be playing with it
Yeah,
too. So
you be playing with it. Don't you blame me.
no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
That's kind of something you can't ignore a cat, or it's gonna turn its back on you
Like
while you're
Stephen King
sleeping.
says, man, when the cat hops up in his lap, he takes it as a sign that he needs to take a break.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
You've heard him say that,
Yeah.
right? Have you heard that?
I haven't heard that. That's a funny one. That's good. I guess speaking on the topic of emotional inputs, uh, intuition is something that's really interesting to me. Um, what about you, Drew? Putting in a dip. Okay, that's
Sorry.
cool. No, that's all right. I think that it's really important to understand intuition and where it's coming from, and to listen to it and take it with a grain of salt. For me, intuition, I know that it comes, all right, I believe that it comes from the subconscious mind. And so the conscious mind has less processing power. So the conscious mind, less processing power, and the subconscious mind has more processing power. Conscious mind is like your rational um, decisions. So making plans, knowing all the statistics of everything, and then writing it out and calculating it out. But your subconscious mind can do all those calculations and then give you this kind of like, it's
Yeah.
more of a feeling than a set of words.
Yeah, it's not a thought.
And
It's a feeling. It's a yes or no feeling.
and that feeling tends to linger a little longer than a rational kind of impulse.
Mm-hmm.
A subconscious or a intuition or a discernment impulse can linger a lot longer, and those are tend to be the things that when you're on your deathbed, it's like, man, I wish I'd acted on that, or I wish I had thought that out a little more and gone with it, instead of like, but like for me, like a conscious impulse would be, I want to drink this, but I'm not going to think about this on my deathbed. But like intuition could be you moving to Athens or me to Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean,
for if I didn't move to Colorado on my deathbed, I would have said, why did I not at least see why my body kept yearning to go out there?
yeah, for sure. And it's just kind of that idea of like on what you said about impulse, so we can wrap up the impulse thing, because I'm more interested in the deep intuition understanding, and how your subconscious has way more RAM than your conscious mind. Um, the impulse thing, that's why people wait 2 weeks to make a big purchase. it, it's a good theory, it's a good theory. um so that's always worked for me. But on the intuition side of things, I agree with you that your subconscious mind, um I've got a good thought. Your subconscious mind it has a lot more RAM, and it's more connected to your body. And your conscious mind it's not as close to the spine. Like, if this is your cerebellum and this is your spine, your conscious mind is up here, hence your frontal lobe. And so your cerebellum is making all the ape like feeling reactions. And so that's sending signals to your stomach and your gut and your heart, which they're now finding that, I could be wrong on this, but apparently they're finding neurons in the heart, which is crazy. I don't know if that's true, but we should look that up.
I
And
listened to a TED talk recently that you can actually die of like heartbreak. Like
yeah,
that's like
I believe that.
a medical thing. Like
Hmm.
a completely healthy person can die of heartbreak.
That's actually fucking nuts to me. Excuse my language. That is nuts to me.
Hey,
Very nuts.
this is a children's podcast. Only children listen to this, so don't cuss.
I tagged
No,
all the
okay, go
children I know, sending it to all of them.
ahead. Yeah,
Um,
this is actually PBS is picking this up next quarter, so we should be good. Wait, PBS at new PBS Kids. There we go.
yeah,
Okay,
PBS Kids. Yeah, Nickelodeon's giving us offers.
yeah, but that's not
Cartoon
enough
Network.
money,
I'm a big
especially with the
Adult
views
Swim
we
guy.
have.
Yeah.
Nick at Night. We said yes just because of it's my name. So
the frog. The
I'm gonna just take a snippet of what you just did there and put it up on my Instagram
You
for
should.
everyone to see.
You should. That'd be a good promotion. That's actually a great idea. Um, but um, I think I think that for me, it's not a thought that comes and says yes or no. It's a feeling that comes and says yes or no, and the feeling normally originates in this area, like in the chest gut area, and that's what people say. Like, use your gut. It's because it's a better processor than your conscious mind, especially when you need to make decisions quickly. And you'll find that the the most successful people in the world make decisions extremely quickly, but that's because they processed a lot of things in their conscious mind, which on top of what you said, this is an extra thing on top of what you said. You process things in your conscious mind, like learning to read, learning to write, learning to conversate, learning to play guitar with a lot of different people, and then all that pushes into your subconscious and becomes part of you the more you practice it. Like what we're doing right now, we're getting better at conversating because we're doing this often. And so with that, these people that are highly successful have put a lot of things through their subconscious mind. I mean, through their conscious mind, which then sucks their subconscious mind sucks up that conscious stuff. So like, you know, going and learning algebra again wouldn't be that hard, but like learning like some high level stuff, some anything past algebra, things that we didn't learn in high school that, we learned algebra in high school and in college. We learned those twice, but the ones that go past that, we didn't learn those more than once. Or I didn't. You did because you're accounting and finance. But um, so they're less on my mind, more on yours. But the more you suck in information, the more you're going to hold in terms of the same ideas, the same thoughts. And to circle it back around to what I was saying earlier, maybe this circles back around. The more thoughts you have about a certain thing, the more it becomes ingrained in your mind. And I think there's a level of truth to that. I would hope at least, um, because making decisions that, making decisions, um, you know, I want to start shooting guns for a living. You know, okay, where did that come from? It's like, right. It's like, hey, did you think about that beforehand? You just making that up right now, and I think like one of my mentors said there's a spectrum between intuition and information, and there's a line between those two, and you're always moving in between those two. And I think that can be translated even further into the more thoughts you have about a certain thing, the more knowledgeable you come about the subject. Therefore, you can translate those ideas much quicker.
Yeah, and it's kind of important. It's like to like you have this intuitive thought, and like in the short term, it's okay. Like I believe that it's okay to make a decision in the short term based on that intuition. Like if it's you have to make a decision now in order to act on it because of that processing power. But if it's something that like a big purchase, like you said, you're like heart, and you don't, you're making that purchase based on fear or anxiety or lust, and you don't take that, like you said, that 2 week period to like flesh it out and say, all right, is this my intuition or is this just a very strong emotion,
Mm-hmm.
this lust or this fear or this anxiety saying go after this or do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I really just want to paint one more picture of the science of how it works. So our conscious mind, pretty much like, let's just say I'm in the room with you and we're actually in the same room doing this podcast.
We're
It's taken in that
scientists.
red. So, take it with a grain of salt, but it's taking in that red curtain back there
Please
and
do.
your New York Yankees hat and your jersey you have on and
Mm-hmm.
this conversation that we're having and the words that you're saying and the paintings that you showed me.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing so the subconscious mind only has a specific amount of storage, and it stores what is an emotional response to us. So what I may store from this is not the fact that you have this Yankees hat or the fact that that curtain is red, but it may be the beautiful paintings that elicited emotion from your mom, or this great conversation that we're having and a few amazing points that you made. And and that's what I'm going to remember. And the other things, my subconscious says it's not important enough for me to store it. I'm sorry, but yeah, I'm just trashing it and I'm taking the important stuff. And
I love it.
that's what's going to make some more intuition later on in life.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. And it's funny you bring that up because there this is a deeply emotional book that I read, and I think emotion is memory. And I think that Jim Quick talks about memory a lot. But I read this book called Musicophilia by Oliver Sacks, and how all these people with dementia can play songs they've learned in the past on piano, and it lights their brain up completely, lights their brain up, all of their brain. And they remember this song so well, but they don't remember their son's own name. And I think like when things have an emotional vessel for information, I think the so you remember so much more because it was emotional. It's like it's more of a stimulus than just someone speaking at you in a monotone expression that it's very monotonous to hear, like a lecture from a teacher, you know. And but somehow you remember your funny teachers, and you remember your loving teachers, and you remember the teachers that were actually really good at teaching because they portrayed it in a story like manner that brought about these ideas of like, oh wow, that was a great battle, that scene was amazing, I could visualize the whole thing. And uh and I think the more emotional it becomes, the more you remember it, and the more your subconscious wants to suck it up like a sponge.
And that's why in the later half of college, when I finally figured this out, I would study with emotion, even if I didn't even care about the subject. I would go into it saying, "I love this. Like this is awesome,"
Yeah.
and just to listen to that emotion about the
Hmm.
subject helped me retain it a lot easier. So I didn't have to study 5 days in advance. I could study a day before, or 2 days
Hmm.
before, or the day of, and
Yep.
actually get a maybe a B on the test. It's still not perfect, but
B player, I got you. 3-0.
hey, hey,
Listen, I
hey,
was an A
yep.
guy. No, but yeah, that it's weird that you can almost program uh gratitude in your mind, and program happiness in your mind, and to Tony Robbins. My mind goes to a Tony Robbins thing I thought about a long time ago, which was, if you have this thought of that creates this negative reaction. um I'm gonna butcher this badly. But it's like when that thought comes, every time that thought comes, think about a positive, like something you can gain out of it, like a learning thing. Like for me, when I was in college, I thought I looked older for my age, and I thought that was reality. I thought that was truth, and so I believed it. And then so later on, I dealt with it in terms of, um, like, this is helping me. People think I'm wiser than I actually am, or I would say the thing that ultimately healed the whole thing was inviting it in, like inviting this fear in. It went a little bit off track of what you're saying, but yeah, it's interesting how you can program your mind to accept an emotional reaction from something that may not elicit an emotional reaction otherwise. Um, but that's something that's like not intuitive at all. It's very not intuitive. That's a very conscious sort of endeavor that I haven't practiced a lot at all. I mean, I mean, I'm more of like, this makes me feel good, I'm gonna do this. Not in terms of like eating Popeyes, or eat, like doing something doing something that's going to make me feel good in the short term. I'm aware of the things that are going to make me feel good in the short term. That are going to make me feel bad in the long term. But there's that conscious awareness too of understanding that, okay, accounting and finance might not be good for me in the long run. Or not to say that's you, but I mean, there's a lot of people out there that don't use the degrees that they're going after. And you know um that you got to be safe. You got to be safe in terms of maybe using that intuition first, or maybe gathering the information first. That's probably that's probably really what it is, because think about it, if kids before college, pre-college, learned about the major they were going to go into in college, learned about the jobs after college that they were going to do, like the accountants would do. I mean, think like, what kid dreams of being an accountant? What kid dreams of being in finance? I mean, I guess I'm
There,
asking you that.
there are a few, and that's awesome. If that's your goal, then yeah, more power to you. But for me, when I pursued accounting and finance majors, I said it's going to make me a lot of money. I'm going to be very comfortable. I'm going to be able to support my family, and I was coming from a total primal instinct of um, just being able to have that shelter and that comfort um, to get me through my life. Instead of thinking like, is this going to make me happy? Am I going to be really depressed with the 40 hours a week for the rest of my life that I'm doing this? And if so, should I actually be going after this, even though monetarily it makes sense? But hey, Drew, we are actually coming up on an hour here, so I think we
But
should,
wait,
you
we
know,
should keep talking. We should keep talking about this. This is super important. I mean, unless you have somewhere else to go, this is important, dude.
let's wrap up on this topic. I'm down. That's cool
Okay.
with me.
Okay. Um, so on what you said, somehow I had the somehow on top of what you said, um, somehow pre-college, I realized, like, oh, I like to build models of cars, and I like to build Legos, and I like to see the finished product. It gives me a lot of satisfaction. And I was good at, like, architectural design and like 3D modeling and AutoCAD and stuff in high school. So I thought, like, how can I do this thing in the real world that'll be functional, that could make me the most money? And money was the highest motivation at the time, anyway. And I remember you and I went to this Barons baseball game with my pops, and he was saying that he was saying we talked. He said, go talk to this guy, and he used to teach at Alabama. His name is Andrew Mactoff. Shout out to Andrew. He's a great guy. I love him. And he taught me when I went to work for CGI after this. After school, he taught me a lot of really good things. But so before school started, I somehow had this idea of, like, okay, I like building Legos. Coding is like kind of like building Legos, and somehow it's paid off for me. And super grateful for that. And but I think that understand, like, God, I wish everyone would know this. Everyone, that before you get into a subject and dive all into it, make sure that you know what it's going to be like after college, and be objective about it, or subjective about it, in terms of the way that you're feeling about, do I want to do that thing after college? You know? And in terms of, like, the arts, I mean, I don't think you necessarily have to have an art degree to be a great artist in any art degree. Um, I don't think you have to have a business degree to be great at business. Um, all those things are learnable through books. I mean, if you want to be a doctor, that's different, of course. And Gary Vee talks about this all the time. But if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, you should probably go to school. But if you know what a doctor does after school, and then you want to be a doctor in school, you're way more motivated to get all your work done to an emotionally high level degree of output and quality. Um, and I think that, man, if people knew if people knew before college what the jobs were like after college, there's no level of higher information that your subconscious is going to pull in at that point in your life. You know what I'm saying?
Or even
And
like when you're searching for jobs, like
hmm
think about the end goal, not just this pays $30 an hour.
hmm
So why the heck not? You know, it's
Yeah.
kind of like, but is this company shady?
Mm-hmm.
Is the work I'm going to be doing fulfilling?
Mm-hmm.
Is the work, am I going to go to work and say, and it's okay for a few years to have to, you know, be the grunt and grind it out. That's fine.
Yeah.
But is the end goal of that job, is that going to be something that you say, yes, I'm proud of this and this is fulfilling? Or is it going to be something that you waste the rest of your life just to pay month to month rent?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And God, man, excuse me, sorry. Um, I I really um I I went to PyCap after I graduated when I was working for CGI, and I told them about like training their mind, like you can learn to train your mind, but I think like what's even more important is just understanding what you're getting yourself into. I mean, any plan that's going to allow you to do that, and hopefully the parents have the awareness of that. Like, but the parents don't have time to inform the kid. Um, but I think they could have the time for it. Um, but I mean, I mean, as a parent, I was thinking about this the other day. Like, if I had a kid today, I have all these visions for what the kid should be and is going to be, and all these things. And I think that parents just their vision translates the further you go along in life. And but I think like I still think like the information and intuition thing, and consciously understanding what you're getting yourself into, so that that you can make good decisions and reactions based on that information, is highly effective. Um, yeah, yeah,
Cool, man. I think that's an awesome thought, man.
cool. Well,
I think that's a really good stopping point for us. And I'm grateful for your time, man. I appreciate you
hey,
getting on with me today.
yeah, hey, man, I love you, man, and I always appreciate everything we talk about, dude. I think we create really awesome things. So I would love to continue.
Yeah. And that's love you too, man. And that's number 4 in the books. And, you know, I honestly was a little wary about this podcast, but this has just been like, it's just been like our phone calls, really.
Yeah,
Except we can document it and we can get better at understanding. We both love podcasts, the technologies about podcasts, and we can actually, instead of just it just being us, like an echo chamber between us, we can actually, whoever wants to hear it, we can add value to them as well.
right.
And that's the goal, you know, just to, like, for us to shelter and hoard all this knowledge, the gifts that we've been given,
Hmm.
um, is wrong. And we should at least give people the opportunity to learn from what we've learned. And hopefully those people in turn will say, hey, I learned something really cool too. Maybe I'll share with them. We want to hear from anyone listening. If y'all know anything cool, or it just, I mean, we'd be so grateful for y'all to reach out to us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, please hit us up on YouTube. Please comment, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Uh DM me or Nick on social media. Nick is in underscore Elcott. His name's right there on the screen. And then my name is Drew Young Thomas on Instagram. And please just DM us, give us some love. But I just hope that we're optimists, and I hope there's more optimists out there like us, and I know there is. So I hope this attracts you in some way. And we love everyone out there, and we appreciate you so much if you're listening. And yeah, man, Nick, you're the man, dude. You're the man.
thanks, dude. Appreciate that. I'll talk to you next week. Well, probably before that, but we'll be on this next
Probably
week.
very soon, man. Probably very
Probably
soon.
like probably like right after this,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
But
We'll just record another one right after this.
yeah, why not? All right,
All
brother.
right,
Have a
brother.
great week, everybody.
All
See ya.
right. Peace out, man.